Hello and welcome to Day 2 of the European Championships 2018. I'm here with Matt Bell.
Hey, good morning, Luke. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. We've had a very small amount of hours of sleep, but we are back.
Yes, and we've done the whole Thanos on the players. We've cut most of them, and we're just down to the players that have a realistic chance of making it into the top 64 for the playoffs for those coveted spots for the World Championships being held later this year in Japan.
Yeah, a lot of them are not feeling so good, but that's because they're out.
Well, we had 1,624 players at the start of the day, well, at the start of yesterday, and we've whittled that down.
Yeah, let's take a quick look at what we're at now. We've got just 221 tables.
That is a big cut. And we gave you a couple of stats yesterday about the decks that were performing really well, but if you just want a quick refresher, we can get that up for you.
Yeah,
not surprisingly, Gyoki was up there, but it wasn't actually the highest success rate of the tournament so far.
No, from the top. This was, obviously we did the statistics before the last round yesterday, so this is
slightly out of date.
So this is up to date now.
Oh, this is up to date.
This is everything right up until what we've played so far. Gem Knight still has the highest win rate with 58.
There were only 9 of them in the tournament, but it seems to be that they're catching a lot of people off guard and still in contention with the highest win rate by a significant margin.
Yeah.
Well, actually not so significant when I just saw the next one. But
no, so Gyoki is sitting at 56. By the way, these are kind of rounded, so they're just flat numbers. So Gyoki is 56 with a lot more games, 962 games being played by Gyoki. This is against all decks, by the way. We can do this
except for the mirror matches. We decided to exclude those because they're always 50-50. It doesn't account for tech options and various things like player skill, but you know, we just kind of figured for the ease of numbers, we'd leave those out.
Yeah, exactly. So the next one down is Sky Striker Trickstars with a 55% win rate. They have the most number of matches being played over the course of the tournament with 1,873.
So the consistency there really paying off for the players that are playing that. That's over half, so people are keeping even. The question is, how many of those are doing much better than that?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, you know, we said this a lot yesterday, that the matchmaking system is trying to kind of level you out to 50%.
Yeah.
And that is across the whole board. So with the deck that's highly represented across a lot of different skill levels of players, having that win rate is pretty good. 55 is really good, whereas Gem Knight, for example, is a more specialist deck. Not many players. We only had 9 that we actually captured from the start of the event playing the Gem Knight deck. So, you know, that comes into play when it comes with these statistics, because more specialized deck, higher win rate.
Yeah, you'd expect that, right? If you're going in with a rogue deck and winning, obviously the percentages would be skyrocketing for you, because it means a lot more for any individual player's performance.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems, just by looking at the stats, that there's been, you know, a few players who are doing really well with Gem Knights, but then a few players that dropped out quite early. So they've I don't want to use the word tainted, but they kind of, all the people who are tainting that win rate have dropped out of the tournament already. So
I mean, well, that's one of the problems of playing dodgy FTKs, right? Sometimes they just misfire and you don't quite get there.
Yeah, exactly. And then just to get to the next one, the Sky Striker Trickstar Mech Knight variant is at 52%. So we start getting down to like much more lesser win rates, but and interestingly, the lowest win rate was Chainburn.
Yeah, there were 4 competitors who decided to sign up with Chainburn this weekend, and they didn't win a single game between them.
That's for just 4 games, so there may just be one guy who had Chainburn.
Oh yeah, one guy
played 4 rounds and then dropped.
My apologies. So yeah, that's not a good weekend for Chainburn.
Yeah. Same for Element Saber was down there as well, with just 11 games being played and a 27%.
11 matches.
11 matches. Sorry, 11 matches. But yeah, so that's it for the kind of overall statistics. Let's talk a little bit more about our specific matchup that we're going to have this morning.
Yes, we're going to be featuring Marco Perico. Perico. Sorry, I don't know. I knew it before we even started, and I'm on tilt. Thanks, Ollie, for calling it out yesterday.
Yeah, Matt is...
ever since he did that, I was just like, it's in my head. Say it, Pero. And Perico. I'm doing it again, so I can't do it. Okay, so Marco, he's going to be playing the deck that he won YCS Bochum with, World Chalice. He's back here with a very strong showing. I don't know what his record is at the moment, but he's still in contention for one of the top 64 stops.
Yep.
And he's going to be playing against Christian Langer, who's going to be playing the Sky Striker Trickstar deck.
Yeah, and in terms of that matchup, it's actually bang on 50-50.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. How many times have these two decks faced off this weekend?
There's only been 19 times that this actual matchup has been seen.
And it's dead on 50-50?
Yeah.
Rounded?
No, not rounded. That's bang on 50-50. There's been 19 games total. 3 were a draw, and then 8 wins, 8 losses.
Ah, wow, okay.
So
this should be
bang on 50-50, yeah.
This should be really close. What can you tell me about the players, though? What if we're dead on 50-50 with the decks, where you could argue is World Chalice just Gyoki Light?
Yeah.
What exactly have we got from the player advantage?
So both of these players haven't played all that many tournaments, but Marco Perico is sitting on a 78% win rate over 6 tournaments.
Including YCS Bochum win, right? The largest YCS ever ran in Europe.
Yeah, so the Bochum, he had 93% win rate.
Yeah,
so
as expected of the winner.
Yeah, he only dropped 1 match the whole tournament. And then we have Christian Lange, who played only 2 tournaments. He played a regional in Germany and then the German nationals, and his win rate is sitting at 61%. But again, it's a very small amount of tournaments.
So we'd argue the actual player advantage would go to Marco here.
Yeah, so if we took that into account and said purely based on the win rates that Marco may take this one.
I guess looking at the player stats, because we can't really glean anything from the decks if it's 50-50. So it'd be super interesting to see this. I'm very happy to see that World Chalice is still in contention in this field.
Yeah, absolutely.
But how about we say that's enough from us, and we bring on the cavalry to carry us through the game.
Let's head on over to Thomas Rose and Oliver Gurman for the live commentary.
Good morning and welcome to the coverage of YCS. YCS, oh my God, I'm so used
WCQ,
to this.
Europe here in Berlin for 2018.
Yes, thank you very much. I should just leave it to you guys. We got the stats for you guys, the stats that these other 2 guys couldn't talk about because we stole the iPad with that important information. So we're going to bring up the player match history of Marco Perico that is going to tell you how he's doing this tournament. He is 6-2 at the moment, quite a successful day 1. After an upset start, he lost the first round against his countryman Marco Pacini, but then he went on a bit of a win streak. The name that pops out here is J.Y. Sharif, super successful player from the UK.
Yeah, I think we still see him making through to day 2 as well. He's on a 6-2 record at the moment, but he's still playing on. Yeah,
that was probably his second loss. And here are the remaining matches for Marco Perico yesterday. He went on winning up until round 7, where Robin Bachofner from Switzerland with his Goki deck dealt him the second loss of the weekend. But so far, only 2 losses, so he's definitely well in competition for this. And now he's facing another Sky Striker Trickstar. Interestingly enough, he played against the deck quite a few times. I was about to say he didn't play that often, but then looking at it a second time, yes, he did. Yeah, in 4 rounds.
Marco, clearly here, he knows what he's doing. There was some discussion after Bochum. No one was expecting World Chalice to come and win that event. We had such powerful pendulum decks. Everyone thought, oh, he must have just got so lucky, but here he is with his signature deck at the biggest ever European WCQ, and he's still in contention. He's fighting on.
If you win an event like Bochum, it's almost never luck. Like I cannot see that argument be made when you're going up against the field of like all the famous duelists, the veteran players, and you still beat them all with your own homebrew deck. Basically, there is no argument to be made that this is a thing of luck. So with that, let's see how this turns out. Let's take you guys over to the feature match table with Christian Lange against Marco Perico. So here we have Marco on the left in the red area and Christian on the right in the blue area. Christian Lange is German. We can also talk about his player match history and see when he has only had 1 loss, but an additional draw. So his record is 6-1-1. His draw was in the 3rd round against Burning Abyss, interestingly enough. How does Burning Abyss draw? I thought they had some burn.
Burning Abyss, I didn't even expect would go to time, so
okay.
I'm surprised too.
And his loss was in round number 5 against Inas Gutic from the Netherlands with Sky Striker Trickstar McKnight. And he's played a lot of mirror matches actually. No, not that. He actually played against World Chalice in round number 1, which is interesting. He beat it, so he might have seen a couple of cards from that particular deck.
Possibly feeling confident going into this one, knowing that his deck has what it takes.
Yeah.
It looks like Marco has won the die roll here and is playing first. Let's see what he can do with this hand. So, normal summon Shine Ball. Not necessarily the play you might expect, but with Imduk in the extra deck, that will grant him an extra summon for a World Chalice monster in his hand.
So, Garnet is one of the key cards here, isn't it? Because it's not really a key card, but actually it's exactly the opposite of what I was about to say. People are calling out that the World Chalice players are always so unlucky when they are on the stream for some reason.
Yes, Garnet's certainly not a card he will have wanted to open with, but he doesn't have Brilliant Fusion in hand, so it's not such a huge problem right now. He'll be hoping perhaps to make his way to Saryuja Skulldread, activate that effect. If he can draw into a Brilliant Fusion with the effect of Skulldread and then place the Garnet back onto the bottom of the deck with the second part, then it's all live again and he can reset those combos.
Okay. Well, let's see if he can go there. So far it looks like heavy investment with no payback for Marco Perico. Although I guess he has seen this a couple of times before. He should be familiar with how this deck plays out and that sometimes things are not exactly going his way.
Well, he's already got himself up to 4 different named monsters on board, so if he wanted to, he could go straight for that Saryuja play here if he just wants to try and dig for some new answers. He'll end up with a 2-card hand after having put back that Garnet.
Alright, but he seems to go for something else instead. And looking at Christian Lange's hand, he's playing Mystical Space Typhoon. I don't remember seeing that card a single time yesterday.
Yeah, it's not a card that we see a lot of in people's main decks. And even in the side deck, things like Twin Twister or even Night Beam now tend to take that spot over the original Mystical Space Typhoon.
The OG, yeah. Right. And he's got an Ash Blossom and Choice Spring in terms of interruption, but that is that. So, for the most part, Marco can just go at it and try and find what he's looking for here. With very few interruptions.
So Marco there orders his chain links in such a way that he's able to use the effect of Imduk to put out a World Chalice monster on the other side of Ningirsu before his Chainlink 1 Ningirsu draw effect resolves, now pointing to 2 different World Chalice monsters, getting the extra draw.
Okay. Well, I would be surprised if he messes one of these plays up, right? He must be able to play this by heart while he's asleep, basically.
Yeah, and World Chalice is often renowned for being a relatively more difficult deck to play. So Sky Striker Trickstar, a big favorite of newer players coming into the game, but World Chalice is a difficult one to master.
Okay. Is it at least easy to learn and hard to master, or is it hard to learn and hard to master?
Yeah, I'd go for more of that one.
Okay. If you're feeling like you want a challenge, this is the deck for you.
I think a lot of people bought the World Chalice deck after Marco saw success in Bochum.
Right.
And then it never really took off because all of these people that had been playing their Pendulum decks and they already knew how to play that, picked up World Chalice, and they weren't getting the results that they'd seen with their Pendulum decks because it's just a very difficult deck to play correctly.
Right. And it also seems like you need a lot of focus. I can imagine that Marco is feeling quite well that now that he's well rested again. After 7 or 8 rounds that we played yesterday, I feel like you're going to be on tilt. You're going to be like, okay, and now I really need that night's sleep to be back tomorrow and feel fresh and can basically do all the things that this deck is supposed to do.
Yeah, well, fortunately we finished reasonably early yesterday, so the players will have had enough time to go and sleep. I think you mentioned set your alarm for 12 hours in the future,
yes,
just as we were finishing off the